Good.
So we're back in session and we're going on to the curriculum committee, teacher survey.
All right. Sorry I didn't have this, wasn't able to do this last week. I just want to give you an update also on the curriculum committee. Our first meeting next year will be on January 16th at 4 o'clock. It looks like the agenda will be that I talked to Dr. Blake at Sanborn, and he's agreed to either talk with either the curriculum coordinator or the foreign language teacher there. Come do a presentation to the curriculum committee as to what they're doing. I think it's a good place to start as far as the curriculum committee. Now, I'd like to thank Angela for getting the survey out to the teachers, and I did look at, it was, the form was like 50 pages long. I was like, how do I do this?
Unfortunately, handwritten versus electronic made a big difference.
Yes, it did, yeah. But I appreciate the effort, and so I'm just going to go through, the answers. Question number 1 is what most accurately describes you, and the answers were of Alice, of course they're all teachers, and 10 identified themselves as Alice staff. 8 identified themselves as Alice staff and live in Fremont, and 5 identified themselves as Alice staff with children in Fremont, or children at Alice School. So we actually have 5 teachers who have children at Alice School. I'm familiar with Alice's school curriculum. One put somewhat familiar, is a little bit interested in that.
And sometimes I think that could be because it could have been also staff, so
Right.
it might have been staff in
May have
different
been staff,
positions.
right.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, yeah, because you're
Yes.
all teachers.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, one said someone familiar, 8 were familiar, and 14 were very familiar. How you receive information regarding the curriculum, newsletter, work at school, of course, I actually led most of them. The other one was the newsletter, innate, so I'm a teacher, so I don't, basically they see it through administration or something like that. But being a teacher, that's how they knew. And where did I think the community gets their information about Alice curriculum? And the teachers said that friends and neighbors, forums at friends and neighbors. One said by actually contacting Alice. Alice has the community gets it through teachers and administration. And the other said by reading about it. And 5 people left it blank. They didn't know how this community got information about Alice school curriculum. So that's interesting. Okay, and what courses do they think people were most prepared for high school? And reading, really, I mean, reading, math, language, arts, they all scored pretty high. Social science, one said all but social science. So social sciences, technology, and science are the ones that they identified as people not being prepared for high school. Which was interesting. Someone said all but technology, art, and music, all but reading. They're most prepared. So they weren't. It wasn't exactly agreement among everybody about how they're most prepared. But number 6, least prepared for high school. Social studies, 7 people reported. So we didn't get, of course, none of these had a majority response, to just let people know. So, which is interesting also. But none of them were like overwhelmed. There were some people that led, but none of them really had a majority response. So the teachers themselves have different opinions as to our preparedness for high school.
And we thought that might be based on what they actually teach
It could
as
be,
well,
yeah.
what their experiences.
Right, but we didn't, yeah. But at least prepared social studies 7, math 5, foreign language 1, which is interesting. Music 5, language arts 5, technology 3, science 9. Because basically one said they're not prepared in science because they have no facilities. We have no facilities for science here. But 13 people reported multiple areas, and 10 people reported one area. So there were some people, some of these things were skewed because some people reported 3 or 4 different things. Should we have a foreign language? 22 to 1. One person in one foreign language. Who was that person? No, you won't ask. Which foreign language? And Spanish, most people thought Spanish. is 16. Then world languages 5, and Chinese 1, and French 1. I mean, I have my own personal reasons for French, but this is the place to discuss it. Should other courses be offered? Yes. 2 people said we should offer more, 19 said we should offer more classes, things that we don't offer now. 2 said no, basically they thought we're offering plenty of courses, and 2 people left it blank. So they didn't know, I would assume. Which one should be offered? Now, this is the only area where a majority of people agreed science lab. So that is the only area where everybody was in agreement, science, where most people were in agreement. 2 people said none, they were blank. We shouldn't offer anything more. 3rd people said, once again, there is a mix. Some people have said more than one. That's why some of the things are a little bit skewed. With band, 13 people said we need band. 6 people said we should offer engineering. 12 people said instruments. So really, there's science and music were the 2 big things that people thought we should have, teachers. And then rank. Now this, I think they misunderstood this question. I thought the question was they're supposed to rank it 1 through 5, and I don't think the question was clear. I think that's why. So they just ranked them very important, all, and of that, so they ranked in foreign language. 12 ranked as very important. 4 ranked as somewhat important, and 7 ranked it as important. Instrument, musical instrument, 14 ranked it as very important. 1 ranked it as somewhat important, and 9 ranked it as important. Band, this one hands down. 19 ranked it as very important. Nobody ranked it as somewhat important, and 4 people ranked it as important. In science laboratory, came in 2nd, very important 16, somewhat important 0, and important 7. In engineering, interestingly enough, 18 considered that very important. And then no considered some important, 5 considered very important. So that gives you a encapsulation how the teachers saw the school. And John, I said you have a copy of what I sent, so you and the only thing I didn't, and Angela, I did send you an email about this. I did not see a question 12.
Sorry, I haven't been, when did you send the email?
Oh, I sent it to you, I think Sunday night.
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Sunday night, I got into work mode and I haven't.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but there was no,
Okay.
I'm trying to find out what is question 12, because
Please rate the following curriculum issues in order of importance.
Right.
Isn't that what the rank?
Adherence to standards,
No,
high
no,
level
it's
of
not.
rigor, preparation for high school.
Right. So,
So,
no, that wasn't.
My only thought then is that must not have been on the copy that I
Made
had
on
had.
a copy.
Yeah, exactly, because I numbered them and they're still in the envelope in the office,
Right.
in the school
Right.
office. I put them there in case anyone wanted to see like
Right.
a hard copy of them.
All right.
So that I captured everything that
Okay.
was written, so that
That
must
wasn't there.
not have been there for some reason, so I
Yeah.
apologize about
No,
that.
that's all right. It either was somehow when I sent it to you, got cut off or something like that. But anyway, so that's sort of the way it looks so far. So we really take I mean, if you look at it, I mean, the teachers seem to think that we need STEM. Emphasis on STEM is why I categorize them. That really seems to be where they are thinking we need.
Well, that and the foreign language.
And the foreign
Yeah.
language.
But the
yes.
foreign language was called out separate, so yeah.
Right, yes, it was called that.
Which is consistent with what the overall survey showed.
Right,
Because I'm looking at that.
Right.
On there.
The foreign language is banned.
yeah, band actually, band and music, yes, those are the 3 big ones.
Those 3.
Which is the same with the.
Yeah, they're actually very
State
similar to
survey.
community, with the community, yes, it's very similar to the community said.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
All right,
Yep. So now we're gonna do that, right?
well, the community's working on the, one thing at a time.
No, I mean, what are we, as a school, gonna do with that?
Is it Mrs. Burns that does the music program now?
Yeah.
Is she able to add in music, go instruments, or go band?
She does instrumentation,
All right,
but she doesn't do band. I mean, it's That's a whole different curriculum.
Is it?
Well, that's a good address. She's a music teacher.
I was gonna say, I mean, if you wanted to hire her to start a band after school, you'd probably be your best bet.
Mhm.
You know, but you gotta find the money to do that.
Right.
And if she's interested. Of course, you could also hire somebody else to do it.
Actually, we do have a couple of people in the community who've already approached me. You know, we had
Katie
Katie last
Strong.
year, and there's another, Julie Sullivan, who also works at Catholic, who is a teacher, was a band teacher, and has approached me about an after-school program, but it's the funding and so forth.
But there was, you know, interesting enough, Fremont used to have its own band
Well, from what
many years ago.
I
A
understand
few of
it.
these did.
And I, to be honest with you, I mean, you know, we're talking about funding and stuff, but one thing to think about is talking with the selectmen, talking, and having some people coming to us, you know, saying, why don't we just form a town band? You know, and they can, you know, they can raise the money and buy the instruments, and the kids could, and they could be for kids ages, and, you know, I mean, we can't do it at the school right now. You know, I think there's people in the community, I think we're happy to step forward and set up a town band. It'll be fun, have it play at the 4th of July and at the homecoming.
So,
and all
I
this
think,
other stuff.
I think as far as the school goes though,
Right.
I think for the board to
Right.
get this information from the curriculum
Right.
committee, which is what we charged them to do.
Right.
You to do,
Yeah.
all of the committee.
Yes.
Then I think we should use this when we do our strategic plan in
Yes.
January.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And when we do our budgeting, and when we do all of that, we should be answering to the needs of the teachers and the public
Right.
How are we
that gave
gonna
us this
address this?
information and try to address these in our school.
Put a plan in place.
So I think in January, we need to keep this right at the forefront
Right.
of part of our planning, so that we can address these requests,
Yeah.
because it's good feedback.
Right. My hope is that with the recommendations regarding a foreign language, that we will have that to the board by August. So that's when we do we review our annual goals. So we'll be able to incorporate in your annual goals, the specific recommendations, as well as having time for the budget for the following.
Right, right. Good,
So,
okay.
Can I make one comment about the band? Is that there's been a lot of studies that show a strong correlation between music and math as well.
yes, there is.
So I'm not sure, and I wasn't sure if people were aware of that or not, but I have all kinds of research that supports that as well. And so it's really a strong thing for the school as well as, you know.
You should check out Mrs. Burns' website, that she does this music program. Yeah, music teacher, no, I forget the name of it, but there's a lot of correlation right with math right on there.
Yes, there is.
Smith.
Yeah, UC Irvine did a lot of those
Yes,
studies in the 70s.
Mrs. Smith.
That's
I
all
get-
correlation
there's
to
too many
the arts
Smiths now.
now. Yeah, Sue is in there.
I sent the Corbin tonight too.
So,
Thank you. Anybody have any other comments from the board?
No, thank you.
Feedback or comments?
Thank you.
Alrighty, information items, administration reports, superintendent's report?
Okay, no long ones this month. It's been a long time since the last meeting, so I did make a few comments about the budget process. And I put in some information on the standards for educational space, so I have the
Right.
copies of the floor plans from John to bring to the budget meeting tomorrow night. The minimum standard is 36 square feet per child, so if you have a classroom that's 900 square feet, it fits 25 students according to minimum standards. So you can only fit so many students in a classroom.
We know that, and they've been given that
Yeah,
data.
and they're gonna get it again. So,
Actually, that was
There's new
useful.
people on the board, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Actually, they used to include that in the budget books in the past.
Yeah.
They actually had all the classrooms and square, and how many kids
We
could.
did do that.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
a
how
good
many kids
That's a
could be,
good idea.
We didn't do
how
it
many
this
kids
year.
could
No,
be.
it must be one of the past budgets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
It was
in
in
last
last
year.
That's a
year.
good idea.
It
It wasn't in
last
last
year's
year's.
Yeah, it
No,
wasn't
it was in a couple of years ago.
Probably have it on your computer though, I bet.
I have a
That's a
budget,
good
so I'm looking at my
suggestion.
budget.
Got it.
Uh-huh.
Very good.
Yeah.
The organizational health index was completed and aggregated, and the admin team has begun discussing it. I will have some information for you about it. Probably in January, we'll put together a presentation on the results. I think you'll find it very interesting. We learned some good stuff. And some things that the administration, the admin team can move forward with that will be very useful. Focus schools, we attended a full-day session on the 21st, and most of it was repetitious. which was a bit disappointing. But partly because the focus schools, focus monitoring process has created so many of the goals and processes put in place in the school already that they're already on their way. Ellis is a year ahead of everybody else, so yeah, exactly. And you can see it in the data. I mean, the scores are coming up. And then, of course, the regular grant spreadsheet, which I just added the 2 new ones that Andy sent to me today, and it's well over $1 million now for those last 2 that was available. And one Andy sent to me also included an organization that will actually construct rural community space, including school space, like we could put in. It's a matching grant up to $50,000. You can build if they would accept it, build your science lab. Pay $25 towards your science lab, but we can't apply for it, so we're hoping that will change. And then, because that still will be there.
Also found a grant that donates books to rural schools.
Yes, I sent that
That's
out
not money.
to John, sent it to the librarian.
Yeah, good grief.
Yeah. Just kind of interesting. So that's kind of in a nutshell. Everything else has been budget and more budget. So.
Any questions for Betsy? Thank you, Betsy.
So, well, I have a question about the building report. Is it now or later?
The which report? When we get to the building report.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. Principals report?
Hi, John.
Huh? Any have questions? The scope and sequence. I guess when Betsy first asked me about the scope and sequence, to quote a famous actor, I basically said, "What you talking about, Rose?" I wasn't really sure what it was. May 14th, I had given you my board report, which was pretty extensive, that it contained the goals that were set up last year and what I was responsible for and what we had been working on. So I looked back at the goals and saw that there was this scope and sequence that Mrs. Langer was overseeing. And I guess you were under the impression that it was done.
That's what she said in her final report to us,
It's not done.
which of course isn't
Yeah.
anything to do with you. It's
Right,
just
no,
that she had said it
it's-
was completed as of January, I think, of last year. Yeah.
Maybe I have to look at the final report. I don't remember what she was saying. Well, I contacted Michelle. I said I need help. I don't know exactly what we're talking about. And my initial thought was, when I had brought this last year, this was that assessment folder that we started working on last year. And I remember that you had seen, and I got the standards in there, that had these standards. And I remember you had said, "Wow, this is our scope and sequence, pretty much done." And so I thought, well, this is, and I was kind of thinking, like, well, no, that's not what this actually is, but, whatever it is, this is great, I'm glad we could use this. We never really started working on a scope and sequence. What Michelle had said to me was that this was the intention was, I guess we could take this, once the work was done, and create a scope and sequence that would look something like this. Where you would have it laid out by grade level, by trimester, and then you would put the standards that you had on your report card for each one. But it wasn't done. And I talked to several different teams, it's like, did you remember discussing it and so forth? We never really got to that point. We're still working on the science piece and getting the science uploaded into performance pathways and the curriculum connector. And so we're doing that. We working mostly on math now and refining the language arts, because it was our first year with treasures. So each trimester we are now taking a look at what we did last year, seeing how it matches up and making sure that it's saying or changing it. Not that they know treasures, having done it for a year, they might either go faster with the program or incorporate other standards with it. So basically it's not done.
So is that the folder that goes home to the parents?
Yes.
Okay, and does it show what they're gonna learn throughout the year? I think that's
It-
what parents
Well,
wanted. I don't
That's
understand
what we
what.
had thought scope and sequence was, John. This is what your child is gonna learn in my classroom this year.
A list.
Right, but it wasn't going out ahead of time. It goes out at the end of the trimester, basically it says, this is what we've done.
Oh.
So
Okay.
That's where it goes on after each trimester. But I mean,
There's the disconnect.
yeah, that's what it is. So I didn't have time to create a redacted copy because I had one from last year. And this one was a sample that I showed you at the end of the first trimester. The one that we sent home at the end of the year, parents can attest, I mean.
I have mine right here.
Oh, yeah, they were really pretty much chock full of all kinds of information. You had the report cards in there, you had a copy of the Common Core standards. You know, that this is a printed version that we purchased, and so you can see what they are.
So
This
that's
is-
for like each grade? Or
Yes,
is that like?
this is grade 5.
Okay,
These are all the grade 5 language arts standards right here listed.
okay,
Common Core standards,
gotcha.
all right here. And then what they had done, we'll have to go back. So, well, that's in that language art, and then what the teachers did was for grade 5, for trimester 1, specifically what the kids did during the first trimester. And then each trimester, they got another sheet. It was the report card.
Pretty much, that's where the grade came from. This is
Yeah,
what we were looking for, and this is
these are the
what
standards.
their grade
And whether,
was
you know,
for
if they're
that.
gonna, if it says meeting expectations, these were the expectations. These are the
Right.
standards that they used.
Okay.
It is, I mean, and I brought samples, I mean, this is, you can pass these around, this is now K to 8. Here's the language arts that we passed out this year. I think I brought both language arts, so I'm grabbing that. Yeah. So that's, you love us, well, it's not.
Oh, no, they're
It's
not.
kids. It's nonsense. Here's another, I'll put some of this on this one.
take grade two.
I will rip this.
There you go. It's yours.
Right off.
You only have to do.
Make it a little work for yourself.
It was kind of hard.
So Joe, they
It's falling off.
I think what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought parents were asking for is what is my child gonna learn this year in grade 1?
Right.
So isn't that what you're putting in the packet, but
We're
only
putting it in
their
the
grades
pa-
are with it?
The report card, yeah, so
So
this.
couldn't they get just a blank copy of what they're gonna learn throughout the year? Isn't that what they're asking for, or are they asking for something more detailed than that?
There's
When
a
it's a
lot of
scope.
information. For example, if you go to our webpage, at the bottom of the webpage, the curriculum, which is very intense for the scope and sequence of everyday math and treasures, is there. It's laid out, everything that's in there.
Right.
This is what we did specifically during this trimester. Now, when I think we're at a point where we're comfortable, like, this is what it's going to be, then we can post them on the website.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't,
It takes a couple of years of reiterative work, we've got it down, purifying it, and then getting it out. So you're probably in year 1.5.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so-
when we do our strategic plan in
Yes.
January, we should update where we are with that and just make sure people know. But we have documentation showing that it was marked completed
okay, yeah.
and shown. So, and so we told parents that when they asked us about it. And then they wanted to see it, of course.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I still had kids in the school, this would be plenty of information for me, what's there as to what my child is going to learn.
It's a lot of information. Yes, they didn't get it at the beginning, I mean, they get different things at the beginning of the year, and like I said, there is an overall view of what treasures in, what is scope.
I think some of it's going home, because my son got one for, is it social
6.
studies? or
Well,
something.
see, that's, Dr. Cox had mentioned that, so I just got a copy of some, I asked people to give me what they
Yeah.
passed out. A lot of it is individualized by the classroom. Now, if you all know Mrs. Lee is very creative, creates a whole different type of unit each year. Last year, when it was the whole immigration unit, and it was all based on immigration. This year, it's around the superhero unit. So she goes, because she's only using treasures for part of the year. They use it at like the first trimester as a transition, and they get more on a literature basis. So she's creating a lot of it. So this is her creation of what they're going to do. And But some people, like second grade, sends out this big folder, and it's more just about the volunteer signups, how to get, your everyday math games, what does first grade work look like? Some of it, bringing in pencils and pens. Mr. Herman has a syllabus, which he passes out for grade 7 and grade 8. Math, lingo, these are all individualized by the teacher or by the team for what they're doing. It's not like curriculum,
Yeah.
it's not a scope and sequence. For some, it looks more like a scope and sequence, for what Mrs. Lee's doing. But not all of them do that, because she's creating her own, not her own curriculum, but she's creating her own units around that.
So there is a scope and sequence, 49 pages in National Treasure,
Yeah.
scope and sequence, and that's what it's supposed to look like eventually.
Yeah.
It's on your website.
Yeah, it's on the
Okay.
website.
I think it got scanned wrong, so you might just want to scan the other way.
Oh, okay.
But, because it's just cut off. But there's it's huge, and it's K through 6,
Yeah.
so 7 and 8 aren't in here.
Yeah. 'Cause
But that's right on the
we're going
website, and it's called scope and sequence.
Yeah, and on Everyday Math, this has that too.
Okay.
And I'm sure that I can look up some of the other programs we have that have them. But those are the two big programs where the majority of the students are actually working on.
Yeah, and scope and sequence K through 1, 1 through 3, and 4 through 6, so those are right there.
Mhm.
It's the 7th and 8th grade that, I'm thinking of one particular parent who's been asking for the scope and sequence for students in their 7th and 8th grade.
Where is it on the website, the front page?
Front page, down at the bottom, there's pretty pictures of everyday math and treasures, and you click on the picture,
Oh, I
and then you
see.
go into that, and then it'll show scope and sequence. And then
click on
in
the
math,
picture.
it actually shows scope and sequence for K1, 1, 3, 4, 6.
Oh, I see it.
And that's what the scope and sequence looks like. It's very detailed.
So John, now with this in here, eventually you're thinking that, like, someone that has a child in 5th grade can go onto the 5th grade page and they can go and look up the, kind of like this, to see what's going on through the year. Is that what you mean, once things are settled on exactly how it's, or will it just come home like this?
You go home like that. If we're gonna make it more detailed by trimester, then we would need a little bit more time to make sure that the continuity is there, that this is what we're doing the first trimester, this is what we do second trimester. And if like I said, we're looking at math, we're still aligning Common Core with the math, and I forgot the math ones, but the math, they were coming to me like, it's hard to really show everyday math in Common Core, so a lot of them wrote statements about
Yeah.
how they're lining the Common Core
Yeah.
with, in everyday math, and how they're addressing the needs of the Common Core. So there's still a lot of work. Common Core is really fairly new, so there is still a lot of work to do before we say this is.
No, I have to say, this is great. I love, this started last year, right?
Mhm.
Because as soon as I got it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Looking at all, it took me a while to figure out,
All the stuff.
all the stuff that was in it. And I'd be like, what's that mean? Oh, wow, that's so cool. Now I love it.
So I'm not, and I'm not sure where the scope, when this was developed, because, that was, I don't know how, I came up with that idea of, it's like, oh, let's try something, and staff loves when I come in with an idea. I'm like, we'll make sure everything's, you just have to put them together. So, but that was after the year had started, before the end of the first trimester that we went to this, so. But we are working, do we have a formal little, trifold brochure that says this is your scope and sequence? No. Do we provide information to parents about what kids are learning? Yes. And even, like, I have Mrs. DeBarro's, or like this is Mrs. Kids. Basically, she does a letter, she has the grading information, computer policy. It's what the expectations, it's a different, she does then, in there's the 8th grade Common Core alignment, what she does as well.
Oh,
She just doesn't have a program, she doesn't have a textbook. She does a lot more literature based. I said, so is Mrs. Pippertone. Mrs. Pippertone was here too.
yeah. So the progress reports that the 8th grade gives out, the 7th grade gives out, has specific skills that the kids are being assessed, correct?
Progress reports or report cards?
Progress reports. Well, I mean, I'm going back way when my kids were there now.
The progress reports
seem
are
to have
created by the
skills.
teams. They, like, 7th and 8th grade will come up with a progress report, and 5th and 6th grade used to come up with a progress report.
Okay.
We have a format, and they enhance it.
Okay, so the report cards show the actual skills.
The report card shows the standard.
Okay,
What's
okay,
going around there.
okay.
And the
Yeah.
teachers, actually what the teachers do at the Web to Schools, they go in and they type in the standards. That's not, and it changes each trimester. I'll tell you where the idea came from this, is because we had issues, the report card changes every trimester. So parents are like, well, how come why can't we have the grades from the first and second trimester on the third trimester? And so we would end up sending like a 20-page report home because we'd have to print the first 2 report cards. And of course, you could say, well, why don't you just keep it on the refrigerator for the year? And they'll have the other 2 when they come. So we said, well, we keep it together for them all in one format, rather than having to reprint the report cards or make one big report card at the end of the year.
Right, because they're being graded on different things
Every trimester, yeah.
Right, which is different than the way it used to.
Right.
It used to build on itself, and so that's why.
And that's when, remember you had the, like, NYAs, the not yet assessed, and people that was so confusing. So what we went to, when we first started, was that this is what they're being assessed on this trimester. So by when you got your second trimester, it didn't have the first trimester information. So that's why we went to this. So you get, when that's returned after the conferences, parents will then, will add to that folder. And then at the end of the year, they get to keep everything that's in it.
So we bring that folder tomorrow to the conferences, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I haven't been home yet, speaking, we got a photo like that.
Yeah, they went home today.
Oh.
That's why
I thought you were good, you had it from last
I'm just
year.
studying them
Yeah.
for my 8:15 conference.
So John, so the report cards themselves, with the items that the student is being assessed, don't change year after year?
They were changing because we didn't have a program in place and so forth, and they might change slightly, but now we're getting more formalized with the standards work that they're doing in the Common Core. So yeah, they do change because now we're doing Common Core. So, but the teachers they can go in and add the standards
Okay.
that they
I just thought that'd be
specifically
an
worked
easy
on.
way for them to give the parents a blank report card, if you will, at the beginning of the year for each semester that the child is gonna be assessed on, and you wouldn't have to recreate the wheel. I think parents just wanna know what their kids are gonna be
That's a
assessed
good
on.
idea.
Isn't that what they're?
It's a very good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because
You know what I'm
actually,
saying?
Mhm.
I mean, I know there's
But the-
educational terminology like scope and sequence
Scope
and all
and
that, but if the parent, I mean, a parent is really looking, okay, what are you going to ask my student to do this year so that I can be aware and start planning if I know they need help with something or another? Angela has
we don't.
a statement to make about the agenda?
Yeah, as a parent, I think even sending home this folder at the beginning of the year and having the parent sign off and send it back even without a report card might be one way to satisfy that need.
Mhm.
Because you've already done a lot of work.
Right. And like I said, I think that's the goal, is that once these are created and they're refined, then we can put them right on the website, and they will be there, so you can see what first grade's doing, and second grade's doing. Last year, because of the confusion with everyday math, we didn't do a math Common Core alignment. We sent the pretty red, white, and blue paper in there, but I didn't have the teachers take that and do, what did they do this trimester? They did that this year. So, because we're still, I mean, I think by the end of the year, definitely we could have the language arts ones done up on the website and sent home if need be. And we can definitely be close to finished with math, with the math committee. But we also, we had a scope and sequence of language arts that was made through the literacy committee of what the kids would learn in K all the way up to 8. But when we started working on it, we did it with the New Hampshire standards. then the Common Core came out. So, but Matt started it with Common Core, so it's hard to keep up with all the
And
changes.
it could change
It's
again.
like the laundry.
You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I said it could change again.
Oh, yeah, I can,
Just wait till 2016, right?
There you go. Well, the next one's up.
All right, thank you, John, about that.
Good.
And then you had mix it up lunch.
yep. We had our Mix It Up lunch, again, K through 8, went very well. And that was on Friday, November 22nd. And the coach ride that Melissa can run, that's in this as well. It's been a busy month, a lot of activity. I mean, between the end of October and,
Short month was a lot.
right, and then, I plan on doing my costumes.
Oh, I loved your fishing and tackle costume.
That was, the kids, basically the staff had challenged me. If they do 90% of participation in Red Ribbon Week, what will you do? And we looked online, it was some teacher had dressed as a principal dressed as a chicken, and let the chicken eats. I said, okay, I'll do that one. I won't eat crickets, I won't do anything gross like that, but I'll do that one, so,
Oh, my daughter loved it. She got home, she said, oh,
It looked like fun.
yeah.
Yes,
we had a good time.
It's a good picture. Okay, any questions for John?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, now we have the special ed coordinators report.
Any questions?
I just had one little thing here. Where is it? On, just on page 36. I don't know.
56?
36?
36 is kindergarten.
Okay, yeah, where is it? Okay.
It must be 56.
Must
56.
be 56.
But that's the special ed.
Especially, it's a phonological awareness,
Mhm.
and it uses the word rhyme, R-I-M-E. Is that a special term, or should that be rhyme, R-H-Y-M-E?
I'm trying to find where that
What
is.
was that?
What
Phonological-
paragraph?
Yeah, I just said page 36, it must have the wrong page.
Yeah, it must be 55 if it's special
It
education.
said phonological awareness.
Interventions.
Maybe it's way back, maybe I missed it. No, I wonder if that's in
Oh, you
the,
must be in the scope and sequence or
Sequence.
something?
No, maybe more,
The line is kind of
maybe, because sometimes I get confused, I put,
Sometimes there are two page numbers too.
yeah, there are two page numbers, that's what I do sometimes, I get one mixed up with the other.
phonological awareness is page
It's
36.
difficult.
Yeah, it
Yes,
is.
there it is, I got it.
Yeah, you got it.
It's rhymes, yeah, phonological awareness, blend on onset and rhymes of single syllable spoken words. It's from the Common Core English Language Arts
There
Center's
we go.
kindergarten.
Right, well, shouldn't that be rhyme, R-H-Y-M-E, or is it
I
rhyme?
believe it's a term,
Is it
but
rhyme?
I
Yeah.
don't know the definition.
Yeah, I don't know what the
I
term
just have to
is.
look it up.
All right.
Remember my phone.
So I looked it up in the dictionary and
Didn't find
wasn't
it.
there. Rhyme was
I heard
a,
R-H-I.
was a frost on the ground.
Yes.
It didn't say anything
That's
about,
correct.
anything technical
So
about
it's
this.
probably R-H-Y,
All right.
but that isn't even our printing,
See,
that's out
this
of
is
the
what
book,
That's
Yeah,
not important.
No, this
That's
is,
Common Core.
Right,
no, 36?
Yeah, Ellis Schools, English Language, Common Core, it's a typo, and page 1 of trimester 1, which is numbered page 36 in the packet. And under phonological awareness, the first bullet, blend onsets and rhymes, it should be R-H-Y-M-E-S. So.
But phonologically, it's spelled R-I-M-E.
That's correct. You are correct. She sounded it out, and that's what it came out like. So,
oh,
there you go.
there's
So she
one,
might want to fix that, whoever. Very good, Ann. You want to do the rest of them?
one mark against phonics. There you
Yes.
go.
Can I
Okay.
ask a question on this? One of the things,
Are we on the special?
Yeah, what are
Special
we on
ed,
the
I'm
special
sorry.
ed report? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're back to
I
page
do-
55 of the packet.
Thank
I
you.
do
Yeah.
I do have a
Thank
bunch
you,
of
Andrew.
special
That
ed
was-
too. so.
Nice side little.
the Read and Write Goal program, that is, I know that there was some training done for the staff, and Sarah had told me that. I was just curious as to, has that been implemented at school? Is it being used by the kids? And I was curious at how it's going, because it really is a great new tool. and I don't know the status of that.
Well, up above under interventions, it says that they're utilizing these, so I'm going to assume from that that these are at this point being utilized.
Can you check into that?
Sure, I can have her expand on it for the next
Yeah.
report. Okay.
I'd like to see how it's being utilized and how it's working for them.
Okay.
Because it is a great tool through New Hampshire. Some of it is New Hampshire AIM, the accessible instructional material.
The only question I had,
Assistive technology, is that considered an iPad, or is that considered
It-
any
it
kind of
can be,
computer?
yeah.
A laptop,
It can be.
anything?
Actually, it doesn't have to be electronic.
Oh,
It can be
okay.
it can be the little thing you put on a pencil to help.
Stylus,
Oh,
or
okay.
pen, or, yeah, grips,
Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
anything that helps.
yeah, I just wondered why, I mean, you know, the high school, the number of kids we have in IEPs in high school, especially in high school, outside of 2 classes, really, in Ellis School, really doesn't match, and I'm just wondering why we have so many kids, you know, in high school on IEPs. Is that because they weren't getting what they needed beforehand? Or, I mean, I don't understand.
You'd have to do an in-depth look also in what the
Right.
pattern of identification was at that period of time
Right.
too.
And the number of students,
And
because enrollment has gone down over
Yeah.
the years, but that doesn't mean that those classes got smaller. So percentage-wise, it might not be any more than.
Right.
I think as I reported before, I know Sarah has taken a good hard look at our referral process, the way students have been referred, and RTI. Also, I mean, if you look at our first grade numbers, we have
Yeah.
1 student in first grade. We have a kindergarten interventionist working with the preschool, children, and they're rather than just coding students, we are doing the interventions, and there's no need for special ed referral or the discharge during preschool.
No, that you're dealing with it differently now than
Yes.
probably in the past, that's what I thought, okay.
I mean, even within Ellis School, I mean, they're lower in the grades.
All right, yeah, the one outside of 7th and 5th, you know.
That's the difference that early intervention can make.
All right.
Any other questions about special ed report? Okay. On to technology. Are things better?
Things are working,
Yes?
and the wider bandwidth should be in place now.
Is the wireless working better, John?
Yeah, it's been working.
Do we have a new wireless then?
No,
Like,
no, you will get 3 bids from
Okay,
that shortly.
okay.
So she's able to work out the problem with wireless, or just the internet going up and down?
Well, Comcast has been in several times, so.
Comcast,
I mean,
that's
Comcast
fine.
did a lot of work, and I think we just increased, is it?
Do we increase the broadband?
So that's
Right,
official.
wireless in the building.
That's, yeah, the inside, the Comcast was the problem that was happening. And also, she found out that the Barracuda unit was an out-of-date unit, so that had to be updated. And we ordered a new Barracuda unit for the firewall. So that took care of some issues as well.
So the wireless, when I went in there to work with her, there were major problems in the wireless, just internal network
Oh,
outside of
absolutely.
Barracuda. Has she been able to make progress on that?
She has, but it's still without a controller, so, you're going to have spots and you're going to walk between.
Well, she said you did tell her to change channels too, and she
Yeah,
has.
so what we found was there's a lot of overlapping in the channels.
Right.
So we did some playing, I actually took one home and played with it and came back the next day. And she had to wait till after the report cards got out, but she's gonna play with different channels to see if she can get rid of the overlapping, which should help immensely. Like, I was in the library, and it was hideous. It was like 5 hours to download the.
She may be working, she's probably working on it. She was
Yeah.
out sick for almost a week, so.
Yeah, it was, she had to wait till, she said she had to focus after the report cards got out,
Yes.
because she'd be shot if she brought
So
down the network.
she's just beginning to do that
Yeah.
now then. We'll should have more on that next time for you.
Okay.
But we haven't had any major disasters.
No, it's been.
Things have been dry. Yeah.
It's hitting our end of town now.
Is
You're
it?
kidding. Oh, no, Comcast is having horrible situations.
Keep it on your side.
Yeah. Okay, building report for December 3rd by Mr. Brown. Do anybody have any questions on that?
So I had 2 questions.
Sure.
So, and I don't know one of these because I talked to you in the morning. I didn't see anything on the building report about the boiler being down. Did I just not read a line, or did he not have it?
He, not sure that he mentioned it in here. It was a very simple thing. I'm not exactly sure what the specific, item was, but we had just had the oil tank cleaned, which stirred up all the gunk
Oh.
in it, and it got into the system and it blocked the
It
boiler.
does say it was the filters were changed, the
Right.
last thing on the thing.
But we actually had the sludge taken out of the bottom. of
Yeah,
it.
I read
Yeah,
that.
so, and that's what,
That's the one. On November 13th,
yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
fixed it.
Yeah. So.
I was down and then it kept going down or whatever, and that fixed the,
Yeah.
it was something about,
Oh, no,
it
it
was a
just
bunch
didn't
of sludge.
talk about the boiler, because
Yeah.
the reason I bring up is I was
Yeah.
talking to the people on Facebook, teachers and parents, and they're just talking about how cold it was. They were saying they could see their breath in a lot of the classes.
That's an exaggeration.
Okay.
It wasn't that bad. He got in there early enough to get it turned on. And he knew they'd be cold until about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, just wanted to ask.
It was uncomfortable, but it wasn't, you know,
Rigid.
it wasn't ice forming in the rolls.
Right. It wasn't that cold, it was cold enough.
Yeah, it was maybe in the 50s, at the beginning, and it was,
I mean, even the outside.
yes.
The security system,
Mm-hmm.
you're not able to turn it on fully yet? 'Cause
Now we are.
We are
It's all
now?
set.
So everything that we had installed when Michelle was here, it's all up and fully cool,
As of this week. You want to test it, go shake the doors.
okay. No.
Don't get any ideas.
Any other questions?
That's all I have.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay. Financial statements? Anybody have a question? It looks like our remaining balances have gone up significantly on the total report.
You've been fixing the encumbrances.
Yeah, I have been fixing some encumbrances.
Because we had like 100, I don't know, I don't remember the number previously, but now it looks like amount remaining is 469, total everything.
You know what?
And for
I wonder if that had to do with the budget transfers. I mean, the establishing of the grants.
Well, it's all one number though, right? At the bottom,
Yeah, but-
amount remaining would be,
Yeah, but I wonder if they were encumbered in those other,
well, it just looks like we have freed up some money.
it could, yeah, that's what I mean. It could have been encumbrances with,
Grant
yeah, and stuff.
So right now, it looks like the amount remaining for the Fund 10 is, let me make sure I get that right.
Because I think the last time this report may not have included the fund, the Fed funds.
Right, and food service. So Fund 10 though shows a amount remaining right now of $359,549 that is not encumbered or earmarked for anything at this point.
That's correct. Yes.
So can you speak to the salary aid line being over budget?
Which one?
Salary aid?
The first line, 41.
Oh,
Which we have right there.
again, that is something that I noticed when I first came. It appeared to me that the teacher line number 39, had a positive variance, and for some reason 40 had a negative variance. I'm not really sure how or why, but if you, like I went person by person, and there was an excess in the teacher line and a deficit in the aid line.
We have
I
no
honestly
explanation
can't
for
explain
it.
why,
We just know there
but
was.
I just know that,
And that was the $23,000 transfer, right?
let's see.
It sounds right.
Yes, when I first came, there was 23,000, I requested a 23,000 transfer, and then we hired another aide, which
Okay, so that's the variance of 12,000.
Right.
Okay.
Which is in the transfer report. This
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Yeah.
And line 66 is over budget right now. The IDA grant, I think just
It went up.
yes,
It's been-
just yesterday, it got approved by the state, so I'll be making that transfer either late this week or early next week.
Is that the tuition private other line, is that what you're talking about? The
Line
IDEA?
66, yep,
So that whole negative variance will be transferred to grants?
yes.
Okay.
Line 153, we've received the check from New Hampshire Retirement, but there's much to figure out with what's going on with New Hampshire Retirement. It's a little bit of a mess, so I've got to,
Go through it.
yeah, I have to analyze it a little bit further.
Take your time.
Yeah, because I'm gonna need it. Let's see, health insurance for the library, we needed to transfer money in due to, I'm not sure whether they budgeted for the person to have, a buyback or a lesser
Well, they
plan.
haven't,
or-
they've changed employee.
Yes.
Right, it's
No, but
per
I'm just
person.
saying,
There's
I'm,
a personnel change,
yep.
so there are adjustments there.
Though the next three lines, I believe, from what I can analyze, it appears to be the previous computer tech person, his buyout. I think he had some vacation days on the books. So when I do the audit journal entries, that will go into fiscal year 13.
It's been
So
counted
that
this
will-
year.
Make that variance disappear and add to your bottom line. And then lines, again, in the Fed funds, there's some stuff that happened before I came. I actually was just looking at that today. Because those funds that were there need to be reported to the state so we can get reimbursed, but the classifications are wrong. So I think we're gonna have to contact the state to